months develop from beginning to end a referendum based on some 1,000 people signing a register or something like that. Is there a danger that people could be vote emotively and impede on people's human rights in doing so?
Will I answer that, Finbar?
Yeah, come on in with that, Sinead. Yeah.
I would say that's just the nature of democracy, really. People will vote emotionally anyway. So I don't see any difference. People vote with emotion. People, there might be a scandal before an election and it's going to sway whatever way the media will run that story. It will sway people. But that's just democracy. You can't, do we want people-led democracy or do we want state-led democracy? We want people-led democracy. We want a voice. Our voice was taken from us. Our voice was our right to call our own referendums. We can't do that anymore. I'm willing to take a chance that if there might be a referendum once a week, I don't care. I just want to have the option that if we want to call a referendum, we don't have to wait for the state to tell us. And then when the state do tell us we can have a referendum, they tell us what we can vote on. And then if we don't vote in line with what the state wants us to vote for, they'll send us back again to vote. So I don't want that. I think we deserve better than that.
Okay. And just one final question on this issue of more direct democracy and referendums and things like that. When we live in a society that is so compelled in terms of how we make decisions by a media, and that media is driven by the finance houses and that's sponsored quite often by finance houses and big business and things like that. And that ultimately has thus far resulted in why and the media that goes along with it, that has resulted in why we continually elect people that do not do things in our best interest. And that we all as a country know are liars and deceivers and leakers, as in Leo the Leaks case. But if we don't change those other structures that lie around our democracy but are not a part of the actual electoral system itself, like media and the power of media and where the influence of media lies, if we don't change that, is there any point in trying to change anything, I wonder? We'll hit the two of you up with that. Chris, do you want to go first on that? Are you on mute again there, Chris?
I said poor Dermot got a crash course in how useful the 37 state is with dealing with the county councils. He mentioned the Language Act, isn't that correct?
No, let me pull you back to the question.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was relevant. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So just the question is that when we have a media that is so insipid and that is owned by the financial system and by the political parties that have this relationship together, some might say, what's the point in trying to change anything if you don't change all of that as well? We'll still keep on, no matter what democratic system we have, we'll still keep on making them decisions. Do you have anything to say to that point? Yeah. Do you think we should try to change those other things as well as our electoral system?
Well, I think the people are actually trying to change, the problems that we're having with the media. The RTE, I mean, you saw the crude, crass joke that they played at Christmas time,
the God
joking
rape
about rape is not funny. You don't joke about rape. You don't joke about cancer. Look of course the media has to go. They haven't got a clue. And we know what they're like. We know that they're government propaganda mouthpiece. They're here now for a problem. So they're going to be a problem with the other constitution as well, aren't they? Yeah.
Chris, I think I know what you're about to talk about, and we're going to come to that in a wee second. Okay, so that's why I just didn't want you to steal the wind out of me sails. Sinead, can you come in on that last question?
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, you're always going to have a corrupt media. They're corrupt globally. We all know this. You can see it's what they don't report on, and and that's why I'm so appreciative of you, highlighting this subject this evening, because nobody else will. We normally get blocked on certain pages when we bring it up. But if we had accountability for our leaders written into our constitution, the media can say whatever the bloody hell they want. But if we see corruption and we have the power to hold our leaders to account when they're caught out, doing their expenses or saying they're in work when they're not, whatever the case may be, scandal after scandal. If we have accountability, the media can say whatever they want. the government will do a better job if they know they'll get into trouble if they make a balls of it, basically. Sorry for using profound language.
No, spherical objects are not offensive. Footballers would have a problem if they were. One final question to both of you guys, and it's really focused on the deregistration aspect. We're over time, but we will run for a few minutes more. It's focused on the deregistration aspect, which is the main thing. It's the means to your end, if you want to put it that way. I've listened to you tonight, and nearly everything you've said I agree with. We need more democracy. We need a right to recall. We need a right to call a referendum ourselves. We need all of those things. They're very, very advantageous and they're necessary. What is the point in deregistering to achieve this? What does deregistration achieve? If you don't mind, I'll just call in one of you to answer that. The reason being that there's a follow-up question and we have some timing issues. Does anybody want to fight over who'll go for that question? Maybe Chris, we'll go for both of you. Chris, come in quickly.
Chris,
what does deregistration achieve?
Why deregister? Well, you deregister because it's the lawful, peaceful solution to this legal dilemma that the nation has found itself in. I was born into it. I'm born into a nation of subservient slaves who are tied and gagged with, and the clue is in the name, it's the devil era contract. That's what it is. You're a slave by consent. It's a de facto contract. You're not a republic.
So are you saying deregistration will automatically bring us back to the 19th?
It brings it back by default because the 1937 contract was enacted by plebiscite. It was enacted by plebiscite because it's not a lawful contract. It's a legal slavery by consent contract, so it could only be enacted by plebiscite. Plebiscite is lawfully reversible, and the lawful solution to reversing plebiscite is deregister.
Okay. Sinead, do you want to add or take away anything to that?
Yeah, well, I would just like to add, the secrecy around the actual numbers on the register actually it screams how important it is. And Dermot, being an ex-councillor, you might be able to give us a bit of advice, because how do we find out what percentage is registered? You can't even get that information from the Freedom of Information Act. So it's so heavily guarded. That shows you its importance. So,
my final question on deregistration, then I'm going to pull Dermot in just to see what he thinks about the subject, and then we'll close up.
Could I just make one point? Yeah, the county councils are legacy institutions. Banks are legacy institutions. The churches are legacy institutions. The insurance companies are legacy institutions. The 1937 state has no jurisdiction over any legacy institution. So all these acts that the people write, they're just for show. They're just for show. That's all it is. Like Dermot will attest, the state has no power over the county councils. If you cannot establish jurisdiction, you cannot have a court case. That's the law.
Well, we won't get drawn into that's a bit of a rabbit hole because we're time limited.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. One last question about deregistration, and it's this. And it's a very serious question, and it gets to the nub of the matter. If it's a case that people campaign for deregistration, and over, let's say, 5 or 10 years' time, 20% of the people, the people who want change most, deregistered, are you not, in fact, disenfranchising them from the political system as it exists? And even though all of the things that you speak about are very attractive, is that not achievable within the current system, rather than asking people to disenfranchise themselves of any political sway or power over maybe 10, 20, 30 years before you'd be successful enough to have enough people deregistered? Is there a danger there that we actually would be running into the hands of people who do not have our best interest at heart? And I will open that up to the three people in the room. I'll go with Sinead first.
Okay, well, to answer that question, you'd have to look at what you're actually getting for your vote in Ireland. So for starters, when you vote for the government. As soon as they get elected, they stop representing you. Okay, they have to actually then sign a contract to represent the state. So the people that actually hold all the power in this country aren't the ones that we elect. So that's what your vote gets you in Ireland. So it's an illusion of your vote actually doing anything. So you have to weigh it up. Do you want an illusion of a vote? Or do you want to remove your consent from a flawed document that gives you no rights, and then try and educate other people to do that? So at some point, we will revert by default back to a document that had more protections for us.
And in the meantime, is there a drip?
Well, it's happening. I tell you one thing, Finbar.
It is happening.
It is happening. It's happening because it's happening really, really slowly. You can see it on social media. More and more people are coming around to the idea. They're realizing how the state works. And I will say one thing, and there's so many Facebook pages out there. If anyone is asking you to put money into a GoFundMe page to fight for your rights, that your rights don't come with a price tag. And there's loads of pages out there, and they're probably watching tonight, so you know who you are because you have blocked us. It's an individual choice whether you consent to that constitution or not. Nobody can go and win your rights for you. You have to get them yourself. So don't be, coerced into giving people money because they're fighting for your rights or they're uncovering the truth. Because they won't talk about the Constitution. They block me and all my friends, and all we're talking about is the truth. We have nothing to gain from this, and we have everything to gain. I have never attempted to get on the gravy train. I don't want to go into
just pull you back
politics.
A little bit. I'll tell you why, Sinead, because of the time limit, and I want to pull Diarmuid in. So you think it's a worthwhile, I suppose, chance to take that. For a lot of people, what you're saying is they're not going to be disenfranchised because they're disenfranchised anyway. Is essentially what you're saying. Chris, in a couple of sentences, could you come back in with that as well? Are we actually by encouraging people to deregister, are we disenfranchising them of any political power that may hold at the moment?
Ask the homeless people. Ask the majority of people to suffer and that have to endure the treason on top of treason. And what's it going to be next week? What's the scandal going to be next week? I just want to use Jesus as the supreme example as to why you're wasting your time waiting for any knight in shining armor that's going to come and save you.
If you can use Jesus in 2 or 3 sentences, that would be great.
Right. Well, I'm telling you, right, the state is divided in 3 parts. 2 of those parts are what we call the permanent government. It's the judiciary and about 400 senior servants that are ironically called the senior civil servants. But that's who the majority is, 2 parts. If we elect Jesus, he's only the other 1/3. So he's the majority, and he's not allowed to take his seat on the gravy train unless he signs a contract to that permanent government, not the people that elect him. So nobody's going to save you. If Jesus can't save you, nobody's going to save you.